I want to look at this. You told me this was a toy.
Yep, it is. It's a bone game. It's made of caribou knuckles. Actually, this was made for me by a friend of mine in Waskaganish, and he took the knuckles of the caribou. When the caribou come down from the north and the Cree hunt them, they take these bones, they clean them all up, and this is a piece of caribou hide, and they attach it to a string and then part of a bone, and you can always tell it's caribou. It's sort of a lightish pink color. And the idea is you hold this in your hand. I'm not going to do it. You hold it in your hand, you flip it up, and as each of these is given a numerical value in each of the holes, and if you can get the tip of this in one of those, that's how it works. It's a lot of fun. So
Really?
yeah, go ahead.
You say you're not very good at it.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. Did you learn to speak Cree?
I have a repertoire of 142 Cree words. Yes, I do.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah, but they don't go together.
Oh, they don't combine.
Can't actually put a sentence together, but I can say it, odd words, yeah. Mhm.
And is much of the language spoken?
Always, depending too on the
So
village.
it's a very strong
Yeah, it
commitment
depends on
to that language.
depends on the village. Waskaganish was hugely involved in making sure their children spoke Cree. Eastmain, I found the children spoke English even before they began school. In Waskaganish, I taught grades 1 to 6, and my 1s and 2s didn't speak English. Very, very little. So I think there was perhaps more of an emphasis in Waskaganish than in Eastmain on actually speaking the language. But as far as I could tell, they all did. The parents and adults, and especially the elders, they always speak Cree. Mm-hmm.
So let's go back to the preparations for the trip. What did you want these children, and now there are two groups of children, there are youngsters in Toronto and youngsters in Eastmain.
Yep.
What did you want them to experience in coming together?
Well, I knew that the children in Toronto almost certainly did not know about the East James Bay Cree or even many First Nations groups at all. I also discovered, again to my amazement, that these folks had a very, very traditional lifestyle. I didn't know that people actually depended on the cycles of the annual cycle of the goose or the moose or the caribou. It didn't occur to me that there were people still living in Canada doing that. I thought that there would be First Nations hunting, but I never expected what I found. And I knew that if I didn't know, almost certainly the children in Toronto didn't know, or most of them wouldn't have known. And so I thought it would be very helpful, more than helpful, I think it's almost necessary for them to know more about First Nations. So but the other side of it was my kids in the north, and they were not aware of how unique and special their culture was. They didn't know that. And even when I tried to explain it to them, they didn't get it. Even when they started to pen pal with the kids in the south, and I would say, you know, we talk about what we're going to email. I said, they don't want to know, but they don't want to know if I got a goose. Yeah, I think they would. So it was very exciting for the two groups to find out about the uniqueness of each other, you know. Mm-hmm.
To find out what was important
Yeah.
to them, because for the one who said they won't want to know that I got a goose.
That's right.
Was getting a goose special because there weren't many geese to get, or was it just a particular moment in that child's own development, like the first goose, or?
It wasn't special to them. It's not special to the Cree. It's special to the Toronto students.
I see.
You know?
Right.
It wasn't most
Right.
Cree.
So how to describe the everyday?
Yeah, that's right.
And
That's right.
find it interesting and important.
Yeah, and educational. Yeah. I think that mostly, by and large, the politicians in Canada come from the South. I think we have very few politicians coming from the northern remote communities, and that may continue. I'm not sure. I hope not. I hope we have more diversity. But in the meantime, those of us in the South who have to make decisions, politicians in the South who have to make decisions for people all over Canada, I'm not sure if we have enough knowledge to do that. And that was one of the things I was thinking about, is that it isn't just politics. I guess it's many other fields that my students in Toronto will eventually go into. I want them to know about the First Nations. Yeah.
What happened? How did they come? They must have flown.
No, they didn't. We took a bus.
You took a bus. Oh,
I think it was
wow.
harder on me than them. Yeah.
A school bus or a Greyhound?
No, it was neither. It was Meilleux, which is a Quebec company.
Okay,
They
so
brought us.
at least a comfortable bus.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
Washroom, the whole 9 yards, yeah.
And how long did the trip take?
2 full days, yeah. And we spent an overnight in Matagami, I think, yeah.
I think that the trip has been described by the families and the children who experienced it and their parents as really life-changing for them. So they're going to remember that for a really long time.
I hope,
There was another significant event that happened while you were there, and that had to do with the Rupert River. And you took children to fish in the Rupert River for the last time. But why was it the last time?
The Hydro-Quebec had purchased the rights to some of the rivers in the Cree territories. And they had been working on damming up various rivers and producing weirs and doing different things in those rivers. The Rupert was slated to be dammed in a certain place, and then there was a weir put in. The whitefish that had been fished by the Cree for the last 4,000 years, and a friend of mine actually was one of the people who was in the archaeological dig on the shores. She told me that there's evidence for 5,000 years that they had been there. These folks would not have lived in that spot. They would have been in the bush most of the year except the summer. In the summer there are too many mosquitoes, so they come to the shores. And then in the fall, just as they would be preparing to go back into the bush, they would do their fishing at a place called Smoky Hill. There was a lot of speculation by the elders, in spite of the fact that they brought in many scientists and, of course, politicians, other people from Quebec who said that, no, it won't change anything, nothing will change. The elders didn't believe that. And, in fact, it turned out they were right. The whitefish have pretty much disappeared. The river has shrunk quite a bit, and the whitefish have disappeared, and they now have sturgeon in the river. There's nothing inherently wrong with fishing for sturgeon, but that is not their lifestyle, so it has changed.
They wanted whitefish.
They want whitefish, although sturgeon is quite nice. I had them while I was there, but nonetheless, they wanted, who wouldn't want to continue their lifestyle? So the students, friends of mine who lived in Waskaganish, organized I guess they call it a festival, a fish festival, and they invited all the other villages and the students in the villages to come for the last fishing. They projected it would be the last, and in fact it was the very last one.
So that's a very important historical moment.
Yeah.
For these young people, for everybody in the village, but in relationship to the children getting to know the concerns of the adults.
That's right.
But also the way that this is their futures.
That's right, exactly.
Are marked by this event.
That's right. I actually put that into our science, geography, and history course. I had to teach all 3 subjects, so that was part of what I was doing, was making sure that they understood that, because they will be the leaders of the next Cree nations as it evolves. And in spite of the fact that the majority of people did vote to sell the rights to various rivers, they're now starting to see what happened, and many people are sorry about the fact that they actually voted that way. And I want to make sure the kids know from their elders and from what we could actually see happening that, in fact, there's a huge impact when you start closing off rivers and selling your land,
And now you've come back to Toronto.
Yeah.
And you're back at the same school that you taught at before, so Shepherd
Public School.
Public School.
Yeah.
You're teaching the grade 3-4 split.
Yeah.
When you go into the classroom to work with these kids after this experience, how are you different?
Well, I have to tell you, the North in general is very quiet. It's extremely quiet. You can go out on the street at any time and you don't hear anything, especially in Eastmain where there's only 600 people. I could walk around the village all day and there wouldn't be anybody that I passed. It is so noisy in Toronto. If you're here all the time, you don't realize how much noise from everywhere, including in the sky. You can hear airplanes going over, and then you're walking on Yonge Street, you hear that underground, never stops being noisy. And when I go into a classroom, I don't know if the noisiness affects the children or if there's something I started thinking about last week. I'll tell you about in a minute. But they never stop yelling. They're loud. The kids are very loud, and just getting them to be quiet is a big issue. In the north, that's not an issue. The kids are quite quiet, and they come in. They're relatively quiet. They don't talk in class. The children in the north don't talk. We're not sure why. Teachers have been working on that for quite a while. Is it because they're in general they're used to being quiet amongst themselves, or is it that they feel a certain reverence for what we're doing as teachers, and they feel that they have no place to speak? But there's a lot of work going on there. So that was one of the issues, was the fact that there's so much noise. The other day I was in the schoolyard watching the kids, and I was thinking, when these kids who haven't seen each other all summer get together, they start yelling at each other and calling, and it's like they're reestablishing a pecking order. But when you're in the north, that pecking order never finishes, because they live together, they go to school together, everybody knows their place, and it's very quiet up there. The education here is, with all respect to the Cree School Board, because it's a very young board, it's just past its 30th anniversary, and it's very remote. It's very hard to get teachers from the south to stay for any length of time. There's still a lot of work to be done. You know, here in Toronto, there are a lot of expectations that start right from the beginning, the first day. There's a lot more pressure, I find, here in Toronto teaching than in the north. Yeah. Yeah.
Pressure on the young people, and on you.
On me, yeah. Yeah.
You brought back many artifacts and precious
Yeah, very much so.
things that are going to be with you and remind you of this time. And I suspect you'll go back, and
Yes,
maybe
I will.
we'll have to come back and have another conversation about that. But you did bring one particular creature back,
Yes, I did.
who's here with us today,
Yeah,
and maybe she'll come and say hello.
maybe. Come here.
Hello. Come around here.
Come here.
Oh,
She's stretching.
There we go.
Come here.
She's very beautiful.
Yeah.
And she has the traditional blue eye of a husky.
Yeah.
But she doesn't look like a husky entirely. She has the
no.
markings.
Come here. Come here. Come here.
She's a bit shy.
Yeah, she's very shy, actually. She's very timid. And she doesn't sing like a husky. She doesn't make a lot of those howling sounds. We know her mom was, because I met her mom was a corgi. That would be a dog that would have been left by the Scots when they first came to East James Bay. And where'd she go? And her dad, we don't know. Her mom was partly husky and partly corgi, and her dad, we aren't sure. She was born in the bush. She was considered possibly dangerous. She wasn't, but it was because there were so many extra dogs, and she was slated to be put down. But I decided I'd bring her back with me to Toronto.
Well, she kind of looks at home here.
Yeah, she is, yeah.
She's lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I have something that I'd like to give you to remember myself and the children of East James Bay. This is a beaver pelt. This is framed, and on the back it has the names of all the students and myself. Okay?
Oh my goodness, that
This is for
seems
you.
like a very incredible gift.
You're welcome. It's very common. That's what the First Nations do. They
Thank
always
you
exchange
very
gifts
much.
when they're doing a meeting or something. That's part of the deal. Yeah.
Well, I will certainly treasure it and find a place in my office
You're welcome.
for it. Thank you very,
You're
very much.
welcome.
And thank you for coming and
You're
doing
most
this
welcome.
interview.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.